Good evening, Oklahoma. Welcome to hashtag Let the People Decide. I'm Moto. I will be your host this evening. We're in the Oklahoma Taxpayers Unite Studios. Thank you guys for joining us. We have got a great show lined up for you tonight. We're going to talk about a former MSNBC, or as our favorite radio host Todd Tucker calls it, MSDNC, Crystal Ball, calling her former network a conspiracy theory network, saying that Rachel Maddow and other kooks that are on MSDNC have done a lot of damage to the left. We're going to talk about Brett Kavanaugh under fire once again, completely false allegations about sexual impropriety when he was in school that no one seems to have verifiable proof of. Elon Omar is saying it's their constitutional duty to impeach him. Okay, Elon, we will have a few choice words to say about your constitutional duty later. We're going to talk about Bernie Sanders. He's coming to Oklahoma. He's going to be having a rally in Norman. So, Bernard, we'll see you when you get to town. We're going to talk about CD5 also and the power shifts between the GOP and the DNC in Washington, D.C., Kendra Horn, some of the candidates that we have here running to replace her and take the 5th District back. We're going to talk about some international news. Talk about Brexit and the UK and Boris the Hulk Johnson. So stay tuned for that. And then finally, if you are a trader or you have any investments in commodities or oil and gas companies, you definitely noticed some activity in your portfolio today. Oil spiked drastically today. I think Chesapeake was up something like 16% and Devon was up like 25%. But we saw a dip around midday. So if you woke up this afternoon and you bought on the bubble, you might be down right now. We're going to talk about all of it when we come back. But before we go to break, I want to remind you guys, we need your support. Oklahoma Taxpayers Unite and hashtag OTUmedia is bringing you the news of today from a conservative standpoint, and indeed even sometimes the news of tomorrow. So we need you to go to the website. We need you to go to OklahomaTaxpayersUnite.com. There you can find our web store, OklahomaTaxpayerSunite.com/OTU-store. Buy the products there. There you can find the Active Duty RX Clarity and Focus. You can find our t-shirts, one of our best sellers, the Moms Demand 2A shirts with the Desert Eagle and American flag right here on the chest/breast. So go check that out. Also, go to the Patreon, www.patreon.com/OTUmedia. There you can sign up to be a monthly subscriber. As little as $1 a month, it does help. But if you're inclined, you see that our production value is increasing around here. You see us having a real effect on the ground in Oklahoma and hopefully even nationally. We have noticed the fans and viewers and followers that are outside of Red Man Land. So thank you guys for tuning in also. But as much as you can do, please sign up. If you're a small business or you want to have a show of your own, there's some very interesting options on the Patreon for you. You can find us on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe and click the bell so you get notifications when we publish our videos, and you can find us on Facebook. So all of that said, guys, stay tuned for Crystal, Brett, Bernie, Kendra, and more. We'll be back after this.
Hey everybody, Todd Tucker here. Are you tired of Big Mobile making deals with dirty DC politicians to amplify liberals and silence conservatives like you? Do you want the same quality of service that you get from your current provider without supporting leftist, anti-American subversives like Kendra Horn and Nancy Pelosi? Well, Patriot Mobile can help you, and they can make a great deal. Ask what Patriot Mobile can do for you, and ask what Patriot Mobile can do for your country. Call Patriot Mobile today. at 877-367-7524. 877-367-7524. Be a patriot. Join Patriot Mobile.
Another one drives a truck. Visit cdluniversity.org. At CDL University, and another success, and another success. Another one drives a truck. Hey, gonna help you too. Another one drives a truck.
Some talent did drink more deeply of the Russia conspiracy waters than others. Rachel Maddow, you've got some explaining to do. For months, MSNBC built segment after segment, show after show on building anticipation for a big reveal. In some of the most fevered speculation, primetime shows actually invited Jonathan Chait on to lay out his wild theory that Trump had actually been a Russian asset since 1987. MSNBC. Seriously, this is not journalism. It is InfoWars conspiracy theory.
All right, guys. So the first story that we're going to talk about tonight is going to be a Fox News story. The headline is ex-MSNBC host Crystal Ball. What a name that is, Crystal Ball. Says former network has done real damage to the left during Trump era by conspiracy theorizing. Crystal went on to say on her show on Hill TV that this was InfoWars level conspiracy theorizing by hosts at MSNBC like Rachel Maddow. Now, I'm sure that Crystal looked into her ball and saw that MSNBC, MSDNC was a sinking ship. And she seems like one of the rats that's jumped off to me. But how dare you, Miss Ball, very ballsy of you, to compare MSNBC to InfoWars. How dare you? You know, I know that the mainstream media wants you to buy this stigma that Alex Jones and his troop down at InfoWars in Austin, Texas are a bunch of tinfoil hat wearing hoodlums. But that is not the case. Alex Jones has been exposing the globalist and New World Order agenda in this country for the last 25 years. Before digital media and equipment, when you had to spend hours and hours developing film, cutting, gluing, all kinds of things, when Alex made his movies that earned him most of his, I would say, fame, but he's really more infamous than anything. So infamous, in fact, that they had to deplatform him and unperson him and throw him down the memory hole and take him off of the internet. So he is something that conservatives appreciate and love and seek to emulate. He's a self-made man, a businessman. He doesn't answer to any corporate overlords, much like us here at Oklahoma Taxpayers Unite, which is why we can give you the information without a corporate filter. We don't have to worry about the phone's ringing and someone on the other end complaining about what I said tonight. Well, that's going to happen. The phone's going to ring and someone's going to complain about something that I said tonight. But we don't have to worry about losing any money for it because we're supported by you, our followers and viewers, and a few amazing sponsors. Again, if you see the advertisements during our breaks, please actively seek out these companies and do business with them. It takes a lot of courage to affiliate with citizen journalism and alternative media. I digress. Going back to Crystal Ball here and her likening of MSNBC to Alex Jones. MSNBC is a multinational corporation supported by not only hedge fund managers and CEOs all across the globe, but it's also propped up, and we see this 100% under the last administration and the DNC's advance with liberalism in the media. All of these networks, MSNBC, CNN, even Fox News to a certain extent, is propped up by the status quo, the powers that be. So InfoWars is, if you have any experience doing something like this, like we're doing here at OT, or if you're a YouTuber at home that's managed to pile together 10, 20,000 subscribers like News Now OKC, you understand what it takes to build an audience, make content, deliver it consistently and on time. So the professionalism and proficiency with which Alex and his crew in Austin have developed their broadcast and their network to is unfathomable to anyone outside of this corporate controlled media structure. That's why they fear him so very much. But Crystal could not be more correct about her former colleagues and these absolute jokes that are talking heads for the mainstream media that read these teleprompters about Russiagate and President Trump getting 2 scoops of ice cream and this random athlete that gets paid to throw a piece of leather around is refusing to go see the leader of the free world. There's been a lot of slow news days. But my biggest gripe with mainstream media is that there's real news happening all over the world that has implications for the human race that we are not being allowed to imagine because they're keeping the news cycle focused around a bunch of Trump hate and leftist Alinsky propaganda and trying to keep a path clear for Madam Cyberhack, the Golden Moo, as H.A. Goodman says. Go check out H.A. Goodman on YouTube. He's got a great channel, H.A. Goodman and H.A. Goodman's other channel. Go check him out. As he calls her the Golden Moo, Hillary Clinton, to run for president once again in 2020. If you still think I'm crazy, go on Predict It now. The only candidate that you can invest in as a prediction for the Democratic nominee that was not on stage the other night, Hillary Clinton. I think she's trading at about 4 cents right now. I'm buying. But what Rachel Maddow and her little gang of clowns have done is they have completely discredited the media. They have disenchanted plenty of young people with the left and the liberal agenda. They have exposed even the level of controlled opposition that we see in even traditionally conservative or right-leaning news outlets like Fox News or Free Beacon. So thank you to Rachel Maddow. Thank you to Chris Matthews. Thank you to Fredo. Thank you, all of you. You guys have done a magnificent job, Donna Brazil. Thank you so much. Thank you. So we're going to take a quick break. And when we get back, we're going to talk about Brett Kavanaugh. There's new noise in the news cycle calling for his impeachment. We saw how just flagrantly dishonest and gross this Kavanaugh scene got whenever he was being confirmed as a Supreme Court justice. So we're going to talk about that coming up. You guys don't go anywhere.
Introducing all new, safe, natural relief. A cannabinoid-rich, clarity and focus formula with 17 essential supplements. When it matters most, you've got a job to do. Anxiety isn't an option. Programmed to keep you moving. A product exclusively manufactured for Active Duty RX by Cantech Labs.
Hey everybody, Todd Tucker here, and everyone who knows me knows I love to read a great book, and right now I'm reading this incredible novel by local author Richard Engel. All you have to do is go tolastamericanpresident.com and say big right now in this book. The Last American President is a story about political intrigue, romance, betrayal set against the backdrop of the dissolution of the United States of America. It's great reading, and when you go to lastamericanpresident.com, use the promo code OTU, you're going to save money. And not only that, but half the price comes back to OTU. So half the proceeds from this book come back so you can watch great programming like you see on the OTU Media Network every day. LastAmericanPresident.com. I highly recommend this book. Read it today.
All right, welcome back, guys. The next article that we're going to talk about is from thefederalist.com, and it's from today, September 16th, 2019. It's by Molly Hemingway. The headline reads, New York Times admits alleged victim of Kavanaugh incident has no recollection of it. Amazing. How about that? Just like Dr. Ford turned out to have no clear, definable recollection of any details about time or whose house or what date, and we wasted tons of taxpayer dollars and tons of hours in the news cycle on it. Here we have the New York Times in an editor's note issuing a correction about a story they put out, a new, wildly ridiculous story, just like the Kavanaugh accusations with Dr. Blasey Ford, just like the PP Christopher Steele dossier. This is some boy dorm room party fraternity get together where some woman, Miss Ramirez Deborah, is held up at pee-pee point with a fake phallus, and then Brett Kavanaugh comes streaking in and she's forced to interact with his parts. The smut that they're putting in mainstream print, the New York Times these days, this is tabloid journalism. There's no other description for the type of journalistic malpractice that we're seeing here. This is why the failing New York Times has very little time left. So they let this story run for a full day before they issued the correction. Here was the quote from the New York Times reporter. A male student pointed a gag plastic penis in her direction. And then a third male exposed himself to her. And the reader's supposed to infer that this third male is Justice Brett Kavanaugh, who doesn't claim to be a saint, but believe you, compared to old Moto here, he's a choir boy, I promise, all right? So, and this is the point of the left. This is the point of the Democrats and the opposition, the resistance, is to disincentivize good people serving in lofty, high, important positions like Supreme Court justices. Now, of course, the left still has their panties in a wad over Mitch McConnell and the Republicans refusing to give Barack Obama a Supreme Court appointment before he left office. But we're going to figure out in the next couple of years, and we might have to wait until President Trump's second term to see it, but we're going to see former President Barack Obama lucky not to walk away in chains and get frog marched to somewhere like Gitmo. All of this stuff is unraveling with FISA-gate and Russiagate and the DOJ and FBI's abuses of a foreign intelligence surveillance warrant. And James Comey and Andrew McCabe and Loretta Lynch and Samantha Powers and Susan Rice, Valerie Jarrett, all the way up to the very tippy top, believe me, there are indictments coming for you. We already know it. I don't care that you had CrowdStrike look at an analysis of some server or whatnot like that. That's a bunch of hooey. and the American people are not buying it. You fooled no one. So we're going to stop giving airtime to the failing New York Times here in this story, but they let it run for an entire day before they issued an editor's note. But once again said, oh, we're just trying to do our jobs. No, you're not. You're trying to gaslight, mislead, and misinform the American people. And we're here at OTUmedia and Oklahoma Taxpayers Unite, citizen journalists, not just in the country. Look at what's happening in Hong Kong right now, all around the world. The Yellow Vest movement in France, the Yellow Vest movement you're going to see in the UK if Boris the Hulk doesn't get his Brexit by October 31st. But that's another story. We're going to talk about Bernard Sanders here after the break. So you guys come back with us. We'll see you then.
Introducing all new, safe, natural relief. A cannabinoid-rich, clarity and focus formula with 17 essential supplements. When it matters most, you've got a job to do. Anxiety isn't an option. Programmed to keep you moving. A product exclusively manufactured for Active Duty RX by Cantech Labs.
Hey everybody, Todd Tucker here, and everyone who knows me knows I love to read a great book, and right now I'm reading this incredible novel by local author Richard Engel. All you have to do is go to LastAmericanPresident.com and say big right now on this book. The Last American President is a story about political intrigue, romance, betrayal set against the backdrop of the dissolution of the United States of America. It's great reading, and when you go to LastAmericanPresident.com, use the promo code OTU, you're going to save money. And not only that, but half the price comes back to OTU. So half the proceeds from this book come back so you can watch great programming like you see on the OTU Media Network every day. LastAmericanPresident.com, I highly recommend this book. Read it today.
All right, welcome back. I want to remind you guys, you're watching hashtag Let the People Decide. We're in the Oklahoma Taxpayers Unite studio. Make sure you go to the Oklahoma Taxpayers Unite website, oklahomataxpayersunite.com. Shop at the web store, buy our great products to support us. Also go to the Patreon, www.patreon.com/OTUmedia. There you can sign up for as little as $1 a month. It does help, but please support us as much as you can. It's not free to do this. We're on YouTube and Facebook as well. Let's keep cranking. The next story we're going to talk about is from the OU Daily. Now, I don't read the OU Daily because it's basically communist newsletter for the campus in Norman, but I do get notifications about OU Daily stories all the time, and the first place that we saw this story come across was the OU Daily, so that's where we're going to read it from. The Democratic presidential candidate and Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders to visit Norman for a rally, actually. It's going to happen on Sunday. The rally will take place at 3 p.m. at Reeves Park, so if you want to go out there and holler out that Bill Clinton is a rapist, then go out there and do that, and then let Alex Jones know he's going to send you some money. I don't know if he's still doing that contest, but anyways. If you get it on the news, we might send you some money. So somebody take me up on that, please. The event is free, but they're encouraging RSVPs. It looks like this string of Democrat candidates that we've had come through, because we did have Robert Francis O'Rourke that came through, and then also in the heat of that Mothers Demand Action and Young Democrats and Everytown USA petition to put constitutional carry back on the ballot, we saw Cory Booker come through and try to capitalize on some of the gun control fever. happening there. Listen, these universities are strongholds for the left. Academia has become a liberal hellhole. And we have a story on OklahomaTaxpayersUnite.com from Professor David Deeming, who's been teaching at OU for, I think it was 27 years, talking about how far left exactly the campus at OU has gone and the administration, and actually a solution for conservatives and for Governor Stitt. So Governor Stitt, if you're watching, go check out that article on Oklahoma Taxpayers Unite from Professor Deeming. But the reason that we've got this string of candidates coming through is it looks like the mayor of Norman, Bria Clark, who went to the Democrat debate that was in Houston, this recent debate, is trying to bring more of the presidential candidates through the campus in Norman. So, and I also saw recently there was Norman City Council. They were trying to include homosexual education in the junior highs and high schools. So anyways, Norman is going off the deep end. So it's time for us to start making some noise and calling some attention to this, because if not, we're going to have a little sanctuary campus and a little sanctuary city parked right here in the middle of Oklahoma. So I don't think that I'll be making it out for your rally, Mr. Sanders, but good luck to any Bernie Sanders supporters who are watching the broadcast, which chances are very, very rare. But if you know some, share this piece with them here. Anyone who is still giving money to Bernie Sanders after 2016 without the expectation that that money is going to wind up in Hillary Clinton's pocket, you are a fool. A fool. Just like before, during the primary, whenever Bernie Sanders raised a ton of money, his biggest boast was that 85% of his donors donate less than $20. All of those people gave their money to Bernie Sanders thinking that he was going to bring about some change, even though it was radically irresponsible socialist change. They thought he was a genuine candidate. And then they found out whenever the DNC cheated him via Donna Brazil's book that there was a fundraising agreement with Hillary Clinton, and they were never going to let Bernie Sanders be the nominee, to the ends they were willing to even lock him out of the DNC's databases. He rolled over. He sold out. All the money went to the DNC, to Hillary 2016. I almost said Hillary 2020. See, Freudian slip. I know it's coming. I'm telling you, we are going to see Hillary versus Trump 2020, and you heard it here first. Remember, Moto told you. But anybody that still believes that Bernie Sanders is anything besides a fundraising tool for the DNC at this point, I got a bridge to sell you. All right, that's going to do it for that story. We're going to talk about Oklahoma's 5th Congressional District and the unexpected victory of Kendra Horn over our beloved Representative Steve Russell, and what we're going to be doing here in the Oklahoma GOP to take it back. Don't go anywhere.
Hello, basket of deplorables, ladies, gentlemen, those who are undecided. Todd Tucker back at the bunker, where I belong. And we want you to join us here at OTUmedia. Become a patron, a Patreon member. If you want true conservative messaging and not the same old corporate filtered news of Oklahoma, this is the place to be. Become a supporter, a soldier, a sergeant, a co-producer, even a sponsor. True conservatism lives here at OTUmedia. Go to patreon.com/OTUmedia, patreon.com/OTUmedia. This is where conservatism lives, and the fight is just beginning.
All right, hey guys, we are back, and the next story that we're going to talk about is really mostly commentary on commentary. So, this article is from the Oklahoman. The headline is Seniority in the Minority, Cole Lucas Cope with Loss of Power. And I always remember whenever you read the Oklahoman, mainstream media, even down to the state level here in Oklahoma with 4, 5, 9 print media like the Oklahoman, they are not our friends and they are not inclined in our direction. The Oklahoma prints a puff piece about Kendra Horn and CD5 about every week. And even when they do publish articles about Frank Lucas and Tom Cole, they always manage to slide in a sound bite for Kendra somehow. And I'll point it out when we get to it in the article here. But let's listen to what they have to say. After decades in Congress, most of it in the party controlling the House of Representatives, Republican reps Frank Lucas and Tom Cole have been readjusting to life in the minority this year. Their seniority and well-cultivated relationships with lawmakers in both parties saves them from irrelevance. At least for now, the two most senior Oklahomans in the House are planning to stay, while many of their GOP colleagues are heading towards the exits. I still get things done, said Lucas, Republican from Cheyenne, who has been in the House since 1994. I just have to work at it harder, and a big part of my ability to get things done is I have established relationships when I was in the majority that helped me be effective in the minority. I seriously question that, buddy. The Democrats are not working with us. We're not getting any love from across the aisle, no matter how good your relationships are. Meanwhile, freshman rep Kendra Horn, the only Democrat in the Oklahoma congressional delegation, joined the House in the majority this year and won the chairmanship of a House subcommittee on space and aeronautics and a seat on the House Armed Services Committee. Horn's party sets the agenda and it wins most of the votes. Here's the line. Here's the pravda. Here's the spin. Lucas and his staff have generous space in the most coveted House office building, and the congressman's window perfectly frames the dome of the U.S. Capitol. Horn has a relatively cramped quarters in a building that's been under construction for years. Oh, but she's got a much better seat at the table. And then we get a quote from CD5's Congresswoman. I really enjoy it, and it's exciting and frustrating in turns, Horn of Oklahoma City said last week of her 8 months in Congress. So there is a flip-flop in the House, and that's not news to anybody. It was a surprise. I was genuinely surprised to see the House swing Democrat. We were already planning on fighting to get Jim Jordan drafted as Speaker and all kinds of other things. But we did lose the House, and now we have Speaker Pelosi, who Kendra Horn voted for, and the Democrats have the majority. And we see all of the craziest, most ridiculous antics coming from the House of Representatives. Thank God the Republican Party is still in control of the U.S. Senate, because it all stops there. Now, a sidebar to that conversation, I will say shame on the Republican Party for not getting what need be done whenever we had the majority in both houses and we had the Oval Office. That was a bunch of rhino controlled opposition, real conspiracy stuff with John McCain in the twilight hours saving Obamacare, our own RNC chairs leaking things from the White House, and all of the rest of the craziness that's been happening over the last 2.5 years. I'll say there needs to be a lot fixed in both political parties. And President Trump was an outsider candidate for real. You know, everyone in the Democrat and Republican Party wanted anyone else to be president besides President Trump. The Republicans ran 16 people against him and made him sign a pledge that he wouldn't run as a third-party candidate. So they were clearly concerned about that. And President Trump doesn't have any strings tied to him. No one is working him from behind the scenes, and they can't control him. And that's what they hate about him. He's being an executive. He's being true to his word during his campaign. He's keeping the promises that he made, and he's not allowing his administration or even his first term to be co-opted by the special interests or industrial complexes that exist in Washington, as the DNC did long ago and the Republican Party has been doing for the last 10, 12 on years. So even though there is a power swap in Washington, the Senate is still shutting down all this radical Democrat agenda stuff before it makes it out of Congress. And realistically, the Republican Party and the DNC have been working together on the federal level to grow government, raise taxes, encroach upon our rights for decades now. So we're not under any disillusions here. We would like to reclaim the soul of the Republican Party as it is still intact enough to honor the will of the electorate. So I'm going to finish this segment up with a comparison of the primaries for the Democrat and Republican Party in 2016. You see, in that presidential election, the Democrat electorate, they wanted anybody to vote for besides Hillary Clinton. Everyone knew she was a terrible candidate. Nobody likes Hillary Clinton. Even the people that voted for Hillary Clinton don't like Hillary Clinton. But the Democrat Party, the superdelegates, the ones that run the DNC, they wanted Hillary. So who did the DNC get? They got Hillary. Now, compared to that, the Republican Party, our electorate wanted Donald Trump. And our partycrats, the people that run the RNC, they wanted anybody besides Donald J. Trump. But who did the Republicans get? We got Donald Trump. So there you can see the contrast between the Democrat Party and the Republican Party. It's the commissars, it's the overseers, it's the walking bosses in the Democrat Party that truly make the decision. In the Republican Party, our system is still intact, and it's a beautiful one, but we're in danger of losing it. So we'll be back. It's tough love. It's tough love, but you know you're going to get the real deal here on Let the People Decide, so we will see you after the break.
Hello, basket of deplorables, ladies, gentlemen, those who are undecided. Todd Tucker back at the bunker where I belong. And we want you to join us here at OTUmedia. Become a patron, a Patreon member. If you want true conservative messaging and not the same old corporate filtered news of Oklahoma, this is the place to be. Become a supporter, a soldier, a sergeant, a co-producer, even a sponsor. True conservatism lives here at OTUmedia. Go to patreon.com/OTUmedia, patreon.com/OTUmedia. This is where conservatism lives, and the fight is just beginning.
Well, the closer Brexit gets, the funnier Brexit gets. I love what's happening in the UK right now. In fact, I'm not surprised to go over to friends' houses and see Parliament live on television because the way they do business there is just a riot. I mean, it is a riot. And their Speaker of the House, like, resigned over this whole Brexit deal. He thinks that they're dishonoring themselves by not enforcing the will of the people that was voted on during the Brexit referendum. But this next story that we're going to talk about is from Breitbart, and this is about Boris Johnson. Boris the Hulk Johnson is what I'm going to call him from now on. But let's go ahead and get some of the article in here. The headline reads: UK's Boris Johnson likens himself to the Incredible Hulk. London, Associated Press. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson has compared himself to the Incredible Hulk in a newspaper interview, emphasizing his determination to take Britain out of the European Union next month. So there's an October 31st deadline. That's what they've been arguing about. And now Parliament has passed a law that says they are not going to be able to get out of the EU without a deal. So a no-deal Brexit is not an option, is what they're trying to say, and force the Prime Minister into asking for an extension from the EU. And in return, Prime Minister Johnson has threatened general elections. And the Speaker of the House, when he resigned, I'm gonna pull up his name here in a minute, but he said that it sends a terrible signal for the members of Parliament not to be honoring the referendum with the Brexit vote, and then also refusing to have a general election to give the people an opportunity to replace them. So it is becoming increasingly apparent that the EU controls a decent portion of the legislature in the UK, in London, and they are not going to let Britain out of the European Union. So I love the quote here from Prime Minister Johnson. He says, "The madder Hulk gets, the stronger Hulk gets." And he, of course, caught all kinds of berating from these stuck-up elitists, one of which being the EU Parliament coordinator, is the Brexit coordinator, Guy Verhofstadt, said the comments showed a lack of maturity. I don't think they show a lack of maturity, actually. I think this is, again, like a Trumpian tactic or position, maneuver here. It's letting the enemy know, I'm not afraid to be called a brute. I'm not afraid to be called clumsy or reckless or damn the torpedoes. You know, we've got to get it done. It's just like the border issue, North Korea, the trade war, and eventually it's going to be FISA-gate with President Trump. He's saying it just has to be done. We have to do this. So Prime Minister Johnson is reassuring Britain and the world that he is going to meet the October 31st deadline for Brexit, deal or no deal, and they are going to be out. Of course, the proponents of Remain, which was the opposite side to the Brexit campaign, the Remain campaign, the proponents of Remain are claiming that this is going to be a terrible, nightmarish, chaotic situation, and Britain's going to burn the next day, and their economy, their currency will collapse. But that's ridiculous. In fact, there were many British soldiers that fought in World War II in order to keep their great island from being ruled over by Germans, essentially. And now we have in Brussels the EU dictating law and trade and immigration policy for Great Britain. And listen, the Queen's empire touched a quarter of the globe at one point in time, so they know how to run an empire. They will be fine without the European Union. A lot of failed dynasties and failed empires in that combobulation. Soon to be the EU. So, basically, a few things happened. Parliament and Theresa May couldn't come to an agreement. Theresa May had to step aside. Boris Johnson's government took over. Now, they also have not been able to get Parliament to agree to a deal, but they have a October 31st expiration date. Parliament is trying to force Boris Johnson to ask for an extension and try to get a deal. Prime Minister Johnson suspended Parliament for 5 weeks to show that he wasn't interested in their deliberations about this deal. Some of the Remain proponents and the Tory government are calling that illegal. It's a tense fight. But I think, like Trump, Boris Johnson will stay the course. I think he will have the moxie in the pocket that it takes to see October 31st come and go, and Britain be in the European Union no more. Let's hope so anyways. The collapse of the New World Order and globalism and big government is a beautiful thing to behold. So, and to that end, let's not forget what's going on in France right now. We're going to see the exact same events play out if Britain does not get its referendum and we do not see a no-deal Brexit. Or a Brexit with a deal. They've got till October 31st. That's what Boris Johnson is saying. So, all right. You limey gits, you better get it together and figure it out. But we'll see you on the other side. You guys stick with us. We'll be back after the break.
Over 20 years ago, Alex Jones created the media platform called InfoWars, and in the decades since, it's grown into a truly remarkable institution with over 200 radio affiliates, tens of millions of unique website visitors monthly, and a 24/7 live news TV channel broadcasting from state-of-the-art studios in Austin, Texas. InfoWars has become the most trusted independent news source in the country, dedicated to delivering breaking news, live coverage of special events, and exclusive reports you won't find anywhere else. While the old guard media struggles to maintain supremacy in a landscape rocked by innovation and technology, InfoWars has been at the forefront of the information revolution. From 8 million radio listeners, over 2 million YouTube subscribers, or the billions of views of our online content, InfoWars proves dominant in every facet of media we enter. For the hardest-hitting reports, uncompromising analysis, for high-profile interviews and bombshell revelations, accept no substitutes. Demand truth. Demand InfoWars. InfoWars. Tomorrow's news today.
This is undoubtedly the most important broadcast we've ever done.
CDLUniversity.org. At CDL University, and another success, another one drives a truck. Hey, gonna help you too, another one drives a
Dear Miller, CDL University. For some of you, it's already too late. You're standing over in a dirt field, waiting in line to back a truck, and it's been 3 weeks now. If you're gonna do this, do it right. Come to CDL University. Get your CDL.
All right, hey guys, welcome back. I want to remind you we're in the Oklahoma Taxpayers Unite Studios. You're watching hashtag Let the People Decide. I'm Moto. I'm your host this evening. Thank you guys for continuing to tune in. Thank you for supporting us. This next story is another international story, and it's actually one of the stories I've been paying attention to for the last year and a half that I think mainstream media and the general American public has not. And that's the conflict that's going on in Yemen between the Houthis and Saudi Arabia. So this is a proxy conflict. It's part civil war. It's part colonization on the part of the Saudis. But we're seeing a huge transition from some of the big players that are in Yemen. And we showed a video just before this segment. I'm going to break down some of what was said in that video. So at the start, they casually said something that represents a large change in the geopolitical situation in Yemen, and that is air support being given to what's called the Southern Transitional Council, or STC, in Yemen. Now, previous to the 29th of August, I believe it was, in the video, the STC, who is supported by the United Arab Emirates, was attacking the Houthis. They were attacking the rebels. Now those attacks have shifted from the Houthis to the militias that are backed by Saudi Arabia in northern Yemen. And once they shifted that assault, they got air support from the Emirates. And that's going to create a sticky situation, obviously, with the U.S. military bases that are in the UAE, and the U.S.'s relationship with Saudi Arabia, even President Trump's relationship with Mohammed bin Salman, the crown prince. But it is a tense situation there, and now it's not just Iran supporting the Houthis that are attacking the Saudis. It's also forces that are backed by the UAE, which tells me that they might smell blood in the water. They might think that the Saudis are going to lose this fight. Now, the UAE is more closely aligned with the Qataris, and the Qataris have been having a lot of feuds and issues with the Saudis as well, and they've been cozying up to Iran a little bit. We've seen all of the tankers being seized and the different attacks that have been going on in the Strait of Hormuz between the Western world and Iran. But this proxy war in Yemen now, we're seeing get global attention because there were a series of drone strikes in the largest oil field that is in Saudi Arabia, and I believe I read that produces about 5% of the world's global supply. So this morning we saw a massive spike in stocks for energy companies like Devon and Chesapeake here in Oklahoma. Continental, I think, was the biggest one that we saw today. And obviously your commodities like your Brent crude and your light sweet. And then also, interestingly enough, like soybean oil futures even took a massive spike. And we saw a lot of people buy in on the spike midday, and then, of course, the price action cool and a dip happened. I haven't checked on it since we started taping, but I will after the broadcast. But these drone strikes, even though President Trump is tweeting out that there's plenty of oil and Iran is behind these drone strikes, it begs the question, is it the transition of aggression from the STC and the Emirates supporting them towards the Saudis that allowed the Houthis, I believe it was actually the Houthis that carried out the drone strike on this oil field. But President Trump's not wrong. They're a proxy force of Iran, or at least Iran. I wouldn't call them necessarily a proxy force of Iran. The Houthis are a domestic and organic movement from Yemen, but they're being supplemented and supported by Republican Guard and Iranian forces. So it seems to be the piling on effect now that's happening with Saudi Arabia that's allowing these attacks from the Houthis, these rebels, to be more successful. Drone strikes and also rockets, missiles that they've been lobbing over the border of Saudi Arabia into Saudi cities also. And I actually have people that stay well informed on this that either missed it or had forgotten. But about a year ago, the Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, right after the Purge campaign, where he was locking up members of the royal family and ministers of different departments in Saudi Arabia, there was an incident where he was wounded during some shooting that took place at the royal palace there in Saudi Arabia. So it's a fluid situation. It changes rapidly, but these are big shifts when we see the UAE willing to actively provide air support for militias on the ground in Yemen attacking Saudi-backed forces. So I expect escalation in that region very, very soon, maybe before I have the chance to come and host this wonderful broadcast again. I think we actually went a little long on our segment, so I'm going to go ahead and close the broadcast out before we go back out. So go to the website, OklahomaTaxpayersUnite.com. Go to the web store, buy our great products. I stay hopped up on ADRX Clarity and Focus all week long. That's how I keep bringing you this content, and we keep this team on track around here. Also, go to the Patreon, sign up to be a monthly contributor, subscribe on YouTube, and like our page on Facebook. This has been Moto with Oklahoma Taxpayers Unite and OTUmedia. You just watched #LetThePeopleDecide. Have a wonderful night.